again, I always thought his car was cool, but it didn't win usually, and it feels like that's when I was on the lot. It's the one. It's the Cutlass versus the goddamn Porsche, and I mean, I feel like today, I always think with Oregon built for speed and just good, but you know, Iowa uglied it up. I'll give him that.
Let me get these things tweeted and blue skied.
You bet.
Now,
I no longer have Twitter on my computer, and I don't have Blue Sky on my laptop yet. I'm gonna keep it that way.
yeah, it's good. Limit that stuff as much as possible. It's good for health, mental health.
I open up the floodgates on for Iowa games, and really, other than that, occasional sports tweeting with a little bit of a group, and that is it. A group sports watch is kind of all I'm there for.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right. Well, three, two, one. We're talking on YouTube right now, but we'll actually start the video part or the audio part of this now. Three, two, one. Here we go. Hello there, and welcome to the Old Head Hawkeye rapid reaction, instant reaction pod thingy that we do here. I'm
Yes.
Rob Howe, joined by Mark Morehouse. Not a good day at all for Iowa fans. They had to sit out for 3+ hours and pretty much nonstop rain today at Kinnick Stadium, and then get a kick in the groin by somebody named Atticus Sappington. That name will not soon be forgotten. Mark, 39-yard field goal with 3 seconds left, his third of the day, and the kid came in, I think, having missed one in each of the last two games. I think they said, and he was 8 for 11. He was money today.
In a bad weather day. And let's just say the name, Atticus Sappington. Atticus Sappington. So that's a James Bond character, an enemy, a bad guy of some. I think it's the guy who threw the hat in Goldfinger. He threw the hat and he cut people's heads off. So yeah, Atticus Sappington. But really, we you said it. Iowa made the game ugly enough. Iowa did the shit out of this game. Oregon has a quarterback who can make that throw. Uh, Deshaun Lee could not have defended that any better. He was fine on that play. Sometimes when they have a guy who makes that play and a guy who can catch the ball making that play, yeah, it's their day. I always feel like today I always try to come up with a metaphor that kind of how Iowa kind of makes it through these games. Today, Iowa was a spy car, and in the end, it kind of lost the it ran out of the oil slick button. It ran out of the nails behind the car button. It just ran out of stuff to throw at Oregon, and Oregon finally just kind of moved through it and got the field goal from Atticus Sampington, which I think I rented a tux from him.
Atticus is a great name as it is, and then you throw the Sappington on there, and it just has that. That's the name that, 10, 20 years ago when Iowa talks about, back in 2025, first weekend, yeah, first full weekend in November anyway. They had a bye week last week, so first game of four games in November for Iowa. First time Iowa's gone in with a chance to make the college football playoff, other than back in 2015, this late in the season. And unfortunately, it ends. Had they won, you go to USC next week for a tricky game in California. You never know there, but had to win today. Today was an elimination game, and you can go back through this game, different parts here and there, Mark. Just the 2 point conversion, how close that. There was just so many, but that's really the rundown. That's the play-by-play of Iowa games, as you said, that are played like this, where it's just back and forth in a phone booth. It's going to take a couple plays here and there, and Oregon's talent won out. And Dante Moore's throw on that last drive, setting up the field goal, was just that was the highlight of what they were able to do today, including just run the ball against, and we can talk about this more, but run the ball against an Iowa team that I haven't seen that done like that in quite a while.
Just honestly, really poor linebacker play today from the Hawkeyes. Those guys they were getting blocked a lot. I mean, things weren't staying clean. That's not all the linebackers. So run defense was just subpar. And then just very generally, the the special teams errors, that was crushing. And it's been a few this year. There's something not quite plugged in there, and those types of mistakes. I mean, didn't kill Iowa, but boy, oh boy, it kicked dirt on the coffin. To use the Halloween term, even though we're not anywhere near Halloween anymore. But the slow starts, the feeling out. I mean, it all kind of set up for that, Kinnick, where I love it when Kinnick feels like a castle in the moors and there's going to be a vampire and a werewolf and a lot of scary stuff. And Oregon bought it all. Oregon was scared shitless. It just had too many players in the end. I think Iowa's defense not quite to standard. I really liked the way the Phil blitzed at the end, giving himself a shot. Lutmer just couldn't quite get there. Other guys were blocked, but Phil went out punching. I don't know if there's anything Iowa could have done to make it work better on offense. I think that was, and people won't agree with me totally, and I think that was Gronowski's probably not his best game. Penn State is his best game by far, but he played a clean enough game. Yeah, he stunk early in the first quarter. Yeah, he didn't make some of the make-em-alls that might have sort of propelled things early on, but he collected himself and he came together. I like that. I think you can build on that for 3 games and come out with a satisfying season, 100% for sure. This would have cemented that, maybe 7 wins. You always want more than that, but a win over Oregon. Still, don't give up. There's still, the championship shit isn't going to happen. You kind of figured that, but I think this is a huge year for games against Nebraska. I think and USC, just figuring out where, winning out there would be a huge deal. So there's a ton to do yet. Man, it was right there. It was right there. And I can, I know I don't think I would have gotten emails after this one, Rob. I think people would have been like, shit. I mean, they're just legitimately downtrodden over angry. And I think that's kind of the mood. And I get it. I mean, there's so many of these games, Rob, and you probably know the number better than I do. Their last win over a top 10 opponent or last win over a meaningful win. Forget about ranking, real meaningful win. And today would have been one.
Oregon was 9, right? Did I have that right? Did I see that on the screen right?
I think
they
so.
were 9. I think it was a top 10 team. So that would be what, 20? Back to the Penn State game. What year was that? 21? 22 was the last one?
Oh, yeah. It was 20 or 21.
The Petrus to Ragaini.
When the kid got hurt. Yeah. When the quarterback got hurt. Yeah.
Yeah. That was the last one. It's been whatever, 11, 12 top 10 ranked games that they've not won. And again, like you said, Gronowski had some makeable throws early on. You never know how those drives are going to end, but how they ended with him not making throws that he needed to make. But then you flip it on the other side when it was winning time. The kid led him on a 93-yard touchdown drive where he runs it in. And, most years you say, okay, Iowa's defense, let's go. That's what you hang your hat on. You get a stop there. And it just never felt in that drive like they were going to get a stop. Oregon, to its credit, didn't panic and start to throw the ball around either, try to get downfield. They did what they did all day, and that's run the ball. It ended with 261 net rushing yards, Mark, on 36
yards a carry. 7.3 yards per carry.
3 to Iowa's 3.3 yards per carry. That's really the ball game, right?
Well, you say that, but you've seen so many of these games where Iowa uglies it up, throw some mud on it, whatever, blood, mud, whatever gross stuff. They throw that on it, and these box scores, Rob, to me, you go through it and you go, wow, Oregon kicked the shit out of them. Nope. They didn't. Oh. Where does Iowa stay in it? Well, today, I believe, I can't remember I don't have the number in front of me. Oregon, Iowa did really well in its red zone defensively today, and probably conversely, not quite enough in its red zone offensively. Offensively, I think with Iowa, you see the lack of the tight end. I mean, they did use him on the goal line today, almost scored a touchdown. Or no, did. I'm sorry, Vanami is a tight end. Um, I think those guys, I think they score more. I think Oregon not getting in the end zone, I think that kept Iowa in it. Um, just needed that spark. And so I look at the playmakers, the wide receivers, tight ends did show up today, and that was a nice bonus that Iowa did get a burst off that. Um, so it sucks for Caden Weegan because he is a weapon they want to use. He's not a running back. He doesn't. I don't know if he gets those reps in practice. So when he was knocked sideways in midair and he fumbled, that's what I would have done. Jesus, that cat was knocked sideways almost automatically. So your body just does that. So no fault there. They're trying to figure out who can work and who can do something against this Oregon offense. So they do try to get Weech in the ball in just different creative ways. Today it didn't work. I mean, today it was the worst result you could have. That's Oregon just being a little bit better across the board.
Yeah, I always wonder about those toss plays, especially in bad weather like that. You kind of, even when you grab the ball like Weechin did there, you kind of got to readjust, and then the contact is coming. Not to make excuses for the kid because give the Oregon kid credit. He put his hat right on the ball
Yeah,
to knock
yeah,
that out. That was a
yeah.
nice play.
He knocked him sideways in midair.
Yeah, took advantage of that. But again, that's, he makes a mistake there, and then um, you need your defense to step up again. And it didn't in that situation. And conversely, Iowa's offensive line this year, Mark, has pretty much been unstoppable. When they've
Yeah.
wanted to run the ball, they have. Not today, man. Oregon's front was really good as I've seen in a while.
Athletic, big. I think Oregon, Penn State, both. I think both lines of scrimmage were probably better than Iowa, and I was stuck with it. Um, I was very impressed with Oregon's defensive line today. Linebackers were all over the field. It was really hard to get anything going for Iowa, which you can't be a spy car in offense. You have to have something that works. You have to have something, and Kirk will tell you this. You got to have a couple plays that are 80% plays. That 80% of the time, they'll get you close to what you want to get out of it, at least running wise. When another team stops your 80% plays, then it's, oh shit, what do we do now? With Iowa, the passing game is cluttered. It was nice to see Vanderzee come back and add a little spark. I thought maybe they could get something out of him, and they did. Um, Nice to see the tight ends make some progress, but yeah, it's going to come down to the makeables and being consistent in the air for Gronowski. Still a knock for him. He's still Tebow-esque. It's worked good enough. I don't think the Gronowski experiment has been a failure at all. 6-3 is fine.
Rank
Uh,
it on a scale of 1 to 10.
I would say he's right now 7. Right now is 7. Um, he's added a dimension with the run, which and I don't have the numbers in front of me. So Rob, I used to get crazy in the winters. I used to be able to do my own thing, and I did once at one time keep a list of Iowa all-time quarterback rushing leaders for Kirk Ferentz. And you remember, you could say the names that you think are at the top. It'll be Brad Banks, it'll be Beathard, it'll be Nathan Chandler, probably
Yeah.
way up there because they ran the option with him. I'm blanking on one. Drew Tate. Drew Tate was
Yeah.
he probably had a few more sacks, but he's got to be up there. But beyond that, just a very different dimension. So, I think, Kirk leaving the jersey in a better place. They've introduced a running quarterback now to an Iowa offense, and it's been healthy. To me, it's been a healthy thing. They haven't won them all. It's very, very new. He's kind of injured, I think. Probably, if you look at him a little bit, he's, shoulder dinged up in the season. He got I think a knee, or in the offseason, knee in the season. Been through some stuff, but it's a very different dimension for Iowa. So I think when a team like Oregon looks at Iowa and looks what we're going to defend, we're going to do our thing defensively. What kind of breaks loose in this game? A few he was accurate in a few passes, not enough.
I thought he
Didn't
got
swing him.
better as the game went on. He was more
Absolutely.
accurate as the game went on.
It was weird. Gary Danielson said, "Yeah, run a play for him to get hit," and after that, he was fine. No, seriously, it was weird. It was like, wow, Gary. Usually, I wouldn't. I get the sentiment from an old school football guy who wore a helmet with that was basically a construction helmet, but um, that's your quarterback, and number two, they don't really kind of know right now. So, yeah, you want to keep him safe, but that is your only way to win. So, I like how Iowa has grown that way. Is it sustainable? Gronowski's a 1 year, he's a one-hit, 1 year wonder. So that I always look for sustainability just because Iowa's going to be there next year too. Um,
Can,
it's going to be a whole different deal next year.
can we get a quarterback that consistently, it's a kind of a redundancy here, but accurate, more accurate consistently, but also can run a little bit and keep plays alive. And, if it's there and the defense is giving it to you, you can pick up yards with your legs. It's like extremes, right? You go from a guy like Petrus or McNamara, somebody who wants to just stay in the pocket and doesn't want to move, to a guy that has trouble throwing and can run like a running back. There has to be a happy medium at some point where you have an offense that you feel confident in can get up and down the field on a semi-regular basis. I just still don't feel like that about this offense.
And so I think in year 27 with Kirk, you got to kind of wonder, are they shooting for that? Are they shooting for an
Yeah, maybe
offense
not.
that? No, honestly, I mean, Brian kind of spilled the beans when he was doing those 3 hour podcasts a few years ago. Um, he did. He said we played a defense half the time, guys. He said
Oh,
that. He said we played a defense. So that tells me this. Okay, it's 3rd and 7. We're gonna run an inside zone and punt. Uh, okay, you're a 2 down offense. That tells me. So that's not healthy. That's not going to get you offensive recruits. It's just not. They look at that shit and they know. So yeah, Iowa plays a defense. A lot of Iowa plays great defense. A lot of it's because Iowa's offense kind of helps the Iowa defense look good because that's how Kirk has sustained, right? I mean, 27 years without blue chip, without a clear, Rob, they've been all over the map as far as offensive recruiting. I mean,
yeah.
they don't get guys from offensive linemen from Chicago is kind of a regular steady thing for Iowa or Illinois. Beyond that, quarterbacks, no, not this, never the same place. Um, Running backs, kind of Chicago every once in a while, but really kind of all over the map. So just recruiting, just all over the map, and every year Iowa's just kind of it's like the junk drawer offense, not except consistently in the offensive line, and that's Kirk's strength. But and this year, like you said, been a strength today, not as quite as much, but that's Iowa offense. Build around an offensive line and punting basically 3rd and 7. We're going to punt anyway, so let's just run an inside zone and not try to get the first down. I think that's what a lot of fans feel, but I think that's how Kirk thinks Iowa gets to the fourth quarter against Oregon every time.
Yeah, and the years where it works and you make that run, um, you manage to pull out games against, Penn State or Ohio State or whoever. Um, but then there are, years like this where you have three losses by what? Lost by a point to Iowa State, lost by 5 to Indiana, lost by 2 today. Um, but that close isn't good enough anymore, right? So if you're
Right.
always playing in a phone booth, you have to win all of those phone booth. You got to be the one coming out of that phone booth every day. And it seems like, Mark, more and more, some of these coaches are like, we're not going to let Iowa us. We're going to do what they do and do it better because we have, at least if you're Oregon or Indiana, Penn State, not this year, but because they have backup quarterback, whatever, they're going to do it better. They're going to grind it out with you and then hopefully make a play at the end.
They're going to have the athletes like today
Yeah.
who have a chance, to throw a ball down the chimney, down the
Yeah,
chimney. I
that
mean,
was an
that ball you
incredible
threw
throw.
down the chimney. So Oregon has those types of athletes. Iowa doesn't, and that's Iowa's fight. I think I think, and honestly, I love that about Iowa. I love that Iowa can go far, can do things without, the blue chippers, without, come together as a team. I like that. But you're right. I mean, it's got to
It's a
come down.
ceiling, right? It
You
caps
got
you.
you. Yes. I mean, today was it. I mean, Iowa fans could feel it. They were like a fish out of water, and they're like, "Okay, I'm ready to go back in. I'm ready to go back in," and then, you don't go back in. You go on the you get filleted. So yeah, what happens in those games that they do win? Stops. I go back to uh, who was the kicker? Michigan, 10,000 people. Keith Duncan. I go back to his kick over Michigan, 16-14, I believe. Um, Stops. There was a stop in that game. And then I remember Beathard getting a key first down and then the field goal. And so stops, I would say one thing defensively. And Iowa doesn't run the ball enough to make a 4 minute. Iowa doesn't run the ball well enough to make 4 minute drills work. They can't. So remember in Indianapolis against Michigan State, D'Antonio's big thing at the end was we wanted the score and we wanted the clock.
Yeah.
Kirk wants the clock. He wants the clock. Couldn't get it today. Couldn't get it quite enough. I think that's a lack of the rushing game. The rushing game just isn't dependable enough. I mean, 3.3 yards a carry, you're not going to run clock. You're not going to be able to take time off the clock. So, your defense has to hold, which, that's the Iowa defense. I mean, it's the plowshare for Iowa's defense. It has to hold because usually the offense is not going to come through. I really think the defense is Rob. I think the defense has earned his nickname by now. Nebraska has black shirts. Iowa's defense owns something, and it's got to have something to do with that fireman quote, right? That
Yeah.
we just come in and they just tell we basically you and I asked them, how about that shitty offense screwing you guys over? No, we just got to come in and concentrate on putting out the fire. Love that quote. I loved it when we got. I knew it when it was coming. So, I think Claiborne would laugh when he starts saying, "I'm like, okay, here we go, fireman today again." And so I like that. I mean, I think the defense has earned that, but no, they're not going to come through every time because Oregon has guys who can make that throw and make that catch.
Put the fire out against Dante, the opposing quarterback. And Dante was not about to have the fire put out today. Great throw. And
Solid player, So, seen last night we watched Northwestern and USC. The quarterbacks out there are really good. These guys can get into space. They're all tall, good arms too. So it's a huge differentiator. Quarterback, it just is. I mean, you look at Indiana. I mean, okay, Iowa. Who's their highest drafted quarterback? Is it Beathard still during Ferentz?
yes.
So Beathard, he's the best. He's what, a fifth rounder. Iowa's best quarterback in the Ferentz era as far as the NFL was concerned. Indiana's guy, they're talking about him in the first round and coming out early. So look what Indiana's doing with a guy who's a first rounder. And really, it comes down to quarterback. I mean, that is the difference between Iowa and Indiana. I think it's probably the difference. Iowa doesn't play Illinois this year, but you probably wouldn't have a lot of fun because that quarterback's really good too. So I'm not saying Gronowski's serviceable. I'm not saying throw him out, but that's the difference between Oregon and Iowa is what that guy can do and what your guy can maybe kind of do sometimes.
Yeah, and that's kind of the rub here. And you don't want to bury the guy,
No,
but
no, no.
he gets paid a lot. I mean, it's a different discussion now, right? Than when we were talking about guys that were on scholarship and going to training table. Now these guys are
Yes.
making, seven figures here. You got
Yes.
to be a difference maker. And, this year, not enough. Scored 15 against Indiana, 16 today. What'd they score against Iowa State? And the three losses, you're talking like mid to low teens, man, for a guy you're paying a lot of money for. And I know it's a team game and you guys got to catch passes and all this other stuff. But ultimately, Indiana went out and got a difference maker at quarterback the last 2 years, and they're going to be in the playoff for 2 years in a row. Indiana football, Mark, is going
Yeah.
to be in the playoff for 2 years in a row.
Good for them. I mean, they got it together, right? I
Yeah.
mean, it's possible for anybody, but really, the breakthrough for Iowa is going to happen when maybe it has to be a in-state kid, Rob. Maybe it has to be some kid from I don't know, Des Moines, Northwest Iowa, Cedar Rapids. It has to be some kid who can sling it.
Kyle Orton.
Uh, no, somebody short. No, somebody more like a shortstop. No tall guys. No tall guys because we know that they won't move out of the pocket. Quarterback has to run now.
Yes.
I asked that on last night watching Malieva from USC. To me, Iowa has left a lot of money on the table because it's not had quarterbacks who can run the ball. It's in 2025 going into 2026. Maybe Iowa has turned the page with Gronowski, but you don't know because next year it'll be maybe Hank Brown, who's like 6'5", more of a Petrus. It's a crapshoot, and you know what? To win games like Oregon consistently, it has to stop being a crapshoot at quarterback. It has to stop. You got to figure that shit out because everyone else does, or everyone else has. I mean, if you look at Indiana, Illinois, don't look at Wisconsin. My God, put a sheet on Wisconsin. That quarterback. So you see how bad it can be. Look at what they're doing. I mean, they're hurt, but yeah, nobody's going to feel bad for you. You still got to put a quarterback out there. So really, the differentiator. Iowa got Petrus. BYU got Zach Wilson. That was good for BYU.
Mm-hmm.
Not so great for the Jets, Rob. I mean, it
No,
didn't work out.
did not.
But but that's the choice that Iowa has to make. It has to make the second round choice and not the nice guy. His mom is cool. He's not an asshole. Let's have this guy, No, you need the guy who, I don't know, just jumps on an airplane without a parachute and somehow is okay. That's what you need at quarterback.
This was where did I see that note? This is the loss is just Iowa's third defeat in its last 24 November games. So 21-3 now in November, but this one was a big one. And like last year, the more critical losses happened before November, and then Iowa got hot and has worked out. But the the pattern of getting better as the season goes on, where you can tell if it's an Iowa team, they're doing what they're trying to do, which is improve every week. I think this team has probably done that. So that's got to count for something, and also gives this team, as you said, a chance to win these last three games. And not everybody can go to the playoff. And if that's your goal as a fan, you're obviously very disappointed today. I'm sure everybody's disappointed in the locker room as well. But this Iowa program with Kirk Ferentz does a good job, even losing such a crushing game like today, of bouncing back. And I think you're going to see good football the last three games of the year.
You know, can improve is that's an excellent point because that Iowa does do that. I mean, when I was right and not injured, it doesn't have any sort of other factors, it does improve, and that's an offensive line thing. They get better and better. Defensive line thing, they usually get better and better. Special teams haven't been there this year. Oh,
Yeah.
you take away Stevens' 50-yard field goal, which was awesome. Special teams made a lot of mistakes today. And so
Did Weechin have a return?
I don't want to pick. I don't know. I mean, that's probably smart by Oregon.
Oh, definitely. I don't know why anybody kicks to the kid, but I don't remember him having a return today. He may have had one.
There's just been a few of those mistakes. And so, the drill down with a roster from Oregon versus a roster from Iowa.
Yeah.
You're putting a lot of guys who probably don't belong out there with those other guys. And sometimes that could expose. I don't think that did today. I mean, just bad luck. I mean, bad moments for the long snapper. Bad moments for Weech, and not so much in return, but but special teams, that's those little things that add up, and that didn't quite add up today. I wonder. So stuff like that, special teams and being good at tight end, I would say been a very kind of un-Iowa year that way. And here they are, almost 7-2, 6-3 going into the last three games. Um, Rob, so what you talk about improvement? I think okay. I looked for in the last few. I would love to see a little bit of improvement at wide receiver. I think that's possible with Vanderzee maybe being healthy. I'd like to see the linebackers improve, especially after I think they have a lot to prove. Um, and I know they're hurt, and I know they're inexperienced, and I know that's a tough spot. But you can't allow 7.3 yards a carry, not in the Big Ten, not if you want to win. So improvement there and there. Um, Other than that, you want one question probably this week that I would ask. Story not on the front end of the week, but on the back end of the week would be um, Gronowski and scripting.
Yeah.
You want to get him a nice start. It feels like they're trying to do that, and he kind of doesn't hit the pass to make the
Yeah.
makeable. So it'd be nice to find out. There are things that you can still find out that are interesting about this team. Scripting with Gronowski, it might not hurt. It might not hurt to really throw it away or just try a different one.
Yeah, and it should be noted Oregon was without its starting right tackle today and its top two receivers. And
And
then
tight
it's
end, I think. Tight end
and
was
the
out
third
too.
receiver got hurt in the game. So they were down to their fourth guy. I don't know who the guy was that caught that pass at the end that just went like through a window that was like the size of a thimble. The ball went through. So
Do not
yeah,
feel bad, Deshaun Lee. You did everything you could on that play. I wish you would have turned around, but hey, man, don't feel bad about that one. They made a play. That probably would have been my sidebar up.
so you've kind of been on the this is it for Kirk train since the beginning of this season. You think, you know, anything this season can change that? Something like today, or
Yeah, yeah.
do you think his decisions made, or are you just thinking
You know,
end of the season, that's what's going to be the result?
I think
I'm
I
asking for
just
some Miss Cleo shit here.
yeah. It's okay. I got you. I got you. So I think this. I
Miss
think this.
Cleo would love the Old Head podcast.
I think this is it. I think this is it. I think that statement he made at the beginning of the year with I think LeVar's played himself out. I think special teams have just not been good enough. And well, if you're auditioning to be head coach at your alma mater, you can't have that. I mean, I'm sorry, and I love the guy. Um, but Kirk saying that at the beginning of the year, kind of like, okay, I mean, there's that. Um, how old is he now? So he's 12 years older than me. I'm 50.
70.
He's 70.
He turned
And
70 August 1st.
and that was the thing that I remember him saying a couple times, yeah, I don't want to hit 70 and do this. So here we are at 70. So I don't know who it was, I can't remember, but somebody who may know told me it wouldn't be surprised another couple years. But I remember at the Gazette in my first week, maybe. Yeah, the old beat guy wrote 2 more years for Hayden. It didn't work out. It was like 2 more days. So I wouldn't put that on the headline just yet. But if you look at it this way, he's coaching for him now. I think Brian's not around. He doesn't have that bullshit over his head. And believe me, it had to have been bullshit at the end. It had to have been. I'll bet he was pissed at Brian at the end because it sucked. I mean, it just sucked. So he doesn't have that shit on him now. So I think that's good. One thing, and I'm sure you've had one-on-ones with him, and one time I did have a one-on-one with him, and I said to him, we were talking about some of the shit that they went through, I think maybe Penn State or some Michigan Penn State game. And I said to him, I think you just kind of like the fight. And he does. He didn't really say anything, but I think he just likes being the underdog, being the fight, beating blue bloods. You remember how he used to. So he didn't crow, but he would be funnier when they beat a blue blood. He would make jokes. He would set up jokes for like 2 or 3 questions away. So he was in better moods. I think, Kirk's not a big game hunter, I don't think. but if he can put blue blood heads on the wall, that I think that's his favorite sport.
And Oregon's not a blue blood, but it certainly is one of those programs that is on the in the vicinity of the top of the mountain. They're kind of at the summit up there with a bunch of other teams right now, not quite
With
to the
Well, when Penn State's normal, they're
yeah,
with Penn State.
yeah.
They're not
They're not
Michigan and they're not Michigan, Ohio State.
Bama, Georgia, not that level.
Yeah, yeah, they're in the next. They'll probably lose 8 out of 10 to Alabama, but or Ohio State, but win 8 out of 10 versus Iowa. So they're that, and Ohio State would win 10 out of 10 for the most part, probably against Iowa. And Iowa would win 10 out of 10 against Wisconsin. So everybody's kind of a level of where they are. But to me, so yeah, Kirk in the fight. So that might keep him around because Rob, it would be cool to have that skill where you're the leader of um, a football team. You're the leader of 105 maniac kids who have sworn total allegiance to you and follow all your rules. Hopefully, and if they don't, they're not there. Um, but that's a power. I mean, that's kind of intoxicating. Um, and he's well paid. I mean, there's that too, and he knows how to do it. I mean, he's done it a few times, so I could see maybe another fun year or two. But also, I think this is it, just because 70. I mean, and Iowa needs. You see the basketball program, Rob. You've seen it. And you see there's a spirit there. I mean, I hate to say it. I mean, I'm not saying football doesn't have it, but there's a freshness with basketball. Not a knock on Fran either. It was time. It was time to go for everybody. And basketball, fun to watch. I'm calling him Sturtsy. I get to call him Sturtsy just like Shorzy. And so they're fun to watch. Will they be great? Who knows? Probably not. They're basically Drake. They're basically like maximal Drake. So, but they're not a silver spoon team. They're guys who Kinnick probably feels like a promotion to Yankee Stadium for a lot of this team because they were at Drake. They were at the Knapp Center last year.
Yeah.
Well, you're in Carver Hawkeye now, baby. Enjoy it. You're on TV every week in front of however many thousand. Iowa football is probably going to need. There's a freshness factor, but I say that, and I think right now, so Fran, nobody was sad he left. I think a lot of people are going to be inordinately sad when Ferentz leaves. I think there's a respect. I think there's a dad respect there. Honestly, I mean, whether or not they agree with his calls and whether or not they bitch him out, they still have still a dad vibe there that people are like, oh, God damn it, Dad. I don't want you driving the store anymore, but okay, good touchdown. Stuff like that. I think there's a respect after 27 years. I think that everybody's been on a ride that it'll be harder saying goodbye. It won't be like basketball, but football is kind of dying for a little bit of a fresh coat. Um, I don't see any for me, Rob. Nobody on staff. You get a head coach. I mean, that's where I'm at. Nobody on staff. Sorry, you haven't earned it. No, sorry. No, and so not a knock, but the freshness in basketball is kind of like as I'm like, yeah, I kind of get it. But again, the Kirk goodbye is going to be it's going to be quick. Like you've said this before, and I kind of agree with this. Kirk's going to be like, yeah, bye, and show up for a photo every once in a while. Never talk to the media, right?
Yeah, you're not going to see
And
him doing analysis on
it'd be like this. It'd be
TV.
like that. Hey, hey, Kirk, you too. And so it won't be that. I do think I did have this flash in my head, Rob. You tell me what you think. Um, I could see him kind of not really pulling for Seth Wallace or LeVar, but still having a say in the program, still being sort of a mentor to a young head coach. I could see him wanting to do that.
Yeah, it would probably depend on who it is. And like you say, if they go outside and get a head coach, that's maybe a situation you just kind of get out of the way, and you're
He's,
like,
yeah, and he can
you're
go off
good.
to the Sunset, or does he still go to the Jersey Shore?
He may, I'm not sure. But he's probably not really recognizable for people in Chicago. Kirk's just got one of those
Yeah,
kind of everyday guy looks to him, and he could
yeah,
probably go into a restaurant in Chicago and not be noticed. Unlike, you know, pick your Brian Kelly or somebody like that, somebody who people don't like, and throw food at and things like that.
yeah,
Whatever,
yeah.
however this shakes out, Mark, however, whenever it's his time, and this is kind of that will be Beth's moment. That's kind of her time, right?
Absolutely,
To to
absolutely.
to get to get this right. Because if not, you're Wisconsin or Illinois for all those years, or what
You're
Michigan State is
Shittsville,
now, and go down.
Schittsburg State.
But however it goes, it's going to be super fascinating. Whatever direction this goes in, because you've had two head coaches for what, 47 years?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
47 years, right?
yeah,
That's insane. That's
yeah.
a half a century. Iowa's had two coaches. So wherever this goes next, it's going to be inherently fascinating.
So one, I'm glad I don't have to report on it.
Agreed.
Yeah, I don't want to have to fight everybody for every goddamn paragraph like I used to. So don't no, I don't want to have to cover the new coach, but I'm 100%. It's going to be fascinating as hell. Where the money come from? What does Beth want? Do they go away from Iowa? Do they get an older coach? Do they go a Bob Stoops route if he's available? Although I think he ends up at Florida. Um, do they get creative? Do they get crazy, or do they go Kirk's route, or do they hire some no name that makes everybody goddamn nervous? Which is probably what's going to happen.
Indiana did that with Signetti.
It did.
People in football circles knew who he was, but everybody else was like, who? And so there's so many different ways to find success. But as the AD, you have to figure out how to find success. You have to figure out what the right path is for you.
Oh man, that was so. If I'm Beth, I mean, I don't know her. I've never covered her, so it's got to be nerve-wracking. No,
Yeah,
um,
for sure.
I would have. I mean, God, I mean, I would just have. Um, it's the most important thing I'm going to do in my time as at the athletic director in Iowa is hire a football coach. No question about it. So what I
Because you
do
may
is
not get a chance to hire another one.
do exactly because it's going to be 47 years. Um, No, I think I would have a committee of people that the media does not know about because I want a soundboard. I want to go in and be honest. This guy was a schmuck, right? I mean, he was a total deadbeat. I don't want him around my program. And then you look for either fight back from the people you trust. You look at agreement with people you trust, and that's you kind of. I think she's going to have a committee in her mind that is her committee that she trusts and that she needs to sound off to because this is going to be speaking stuff into the air that is going to be real
Yeah.
eventually. Somebody is going to be the next coach at Iowa, and you don't want to screw it up. You just don't want to screw it up. You don't want to be that AD like the Wisconsin AD, McIntosh.
Yeah, Wisconsin certainly now has to fight itself out of a hole that it wasn't in before the last hire. And if you make a bad hire, then you put yourself in the hole and you make it even more difficult to get a good coach because now your program's got to come up from a lower spot. It just makes it so much harder. If you can get it right, you just keep the train rolling. You just keep
Yes.
what they've had going here for 47 years for the most part. A few bad years here and there, but for the most part, it's been 50 years of good memories for the most part.
Yeah, yeah. For Iowa and Wisconsin, I think a middle rank wise, can't really argue. And Kirk's run, I think success. And I'm going to say that, and then this will probably get me in trouble because there's a lot of Kirk positive sentiment. But he's Iowa's third best coach, probably, right? I mean, Hayden's number one. Let's not shit ourselves. Hayden's number one. Um, Evie's number two. In my mind, he reached the highest heights.
Yep.
Not a lot of staying power, reached the highest heights, and then Kirk. You can't go wrong with any of them. And but I think everybody goes, yeah, Hayden's number one because without Hayden, Kinnick's probably torn down and made it into an intramural frisbee league. They were Iowa was done.
Yeah, no question. And he brought it back from the dead, and that's to not only brought it back from the dead, but brought it to such a high level. And just the, from the Tiger Hawk to the, we don't have to go down this list. You guys
No, no,
listening to this podcast, you know what the impact was. And
right, right.
that was going to be impossible for Kirk probably to top without like a national championship or something like that. And to Kirk's credit, I think for him, it's been the consistency. It's been the being in the games and not embarrassing the program and just being solid for so many years. That's going to be, to me, his legacy.
He's been Iowa dad, and
Yeah.
really, mostly dependable, mostly stable. Uh, Iowa dad. I mean, he's been Iowa dad, and he hasn't reached the heights. He reached Hayden's heights. Hadn't reached Evie's heights. He has his own heights. Honestly, forget about Big Ten championships. Those became impossible when when the league made the switch to championship game. You're not going to beat Ohio State at Indianapolis. You're not. Wisconsin's not. None of you are. That's how it goes. So forget about championships. What Hayden did was brought Iowa into modernity. Indoor facility, logos, uniforms, looking the part, giving the program great stories. Uh, Stories are a huge part of it. I'm sorry, everybody
Yeah.
wants to blow past stories, but your stories are how people know you. And Hayden's story, I mean, he filled the program with goddamn stories. Kirk was anti-story guy. There's some that were pulled out, but I think once it's over for him, I think a lot of players will come out and tell stories.
Yeah.
Kirk, that might be pretty good. And you might want to kind of read those because those will probably be pretty good. But anyway, uh, I it's so tantalizing to talk about, is it not, Rob? I mean, 3 games left: USC, Nebraska, Northwestern. I can't remember.
Michigan
Northwestern,
State.
Michigan State. 3 important games. Michigan State, Nebraska. You're on their level. You want them in your rear view. You don't want to be in their rear view because it sucks there. So don't want to be there. Um, th- Winning in California would be for the first time since the Holiday Bowl, but beyond that, the first time winning in the Rose Bowl since Evie. So yeah, there's a lot on the table yet, and I hate to run past that because Kirk today coached his ass off. I mean, you move. I don't know what pieces there are to move for Iowa's offense, but they moved things along a little bit. It was a good coaching job today. It was intense, and there's still some of it in there. I don't know. What do you think about how long? I mean, do you think this is it, or do you think 6 more years? No, I'm kidding.
I really don't have a good feel for this at all. I
I hear
haven't.
that.
I've listened to you guys and um, Pat Hardy. He feels like this is it, and
Pat does. Okay.
I see the evidence that you guys are looking at. Just kind of the demeanor, kind of the emotion, the things that we're used to, those marks that we're used to looking at, and it just feels like this could be it. But I could also see him getting to the end of the season and go, I really don't want to sit around. I love this shit still, and I want to take
Mhm.
another shot. And if you have the financial support, you go out and you maybe take one more shot at building the right roster to make a run, at least get into that playoff. And then once you get into the playoff, you see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I could totally see him plugging in. I could totally see that. Iowa's in a good spot right now in the Big Ten, I think. They just have to figure out quarterback, but beyond that, uh, solid middle rank brand. Oregon started talking about brands at the end of the game, and Oregon, Flash brand maybe, but they've won enough to where you respect it.
He's a good coach too, man.
He
He
is a
is a
good
good coach.
he is a good coach. I mean, he's got the players' attention in a good way. You can tell. Um, I think Kirk's had that, but it's year 27. That that to me just what a recruiting obstacle. I mean, I don't mean this in a bad way, and I'm not trying to be negative, but it's just an obstacle in recruiting. It just is. I mean, it's an easy thing for an anti-recruiter to say to a kid. Oh God, he's old.
Yep.
He's not going to be there. Easy to say that,
Yeah.
but it doesn't ring. I think Iowa players get to get who they get, but I don't know. I think it's interesting. Pat thinks it's his last year too, because Pat's still there.
Yeah.
He's at the press conferences and stuff, and he sees the demeanor, and I think that's interesting. I really do, because I honestly thought 2019 should have been it. I mean,
Yeah.
you win the Holiday Bowl, where Hayden was, I think, in the last year or so, and inducted in the Holiday Bowl Hall of Fame. You beat USC, kind of like Hayden when he beat the Washington in the Sun Bowl in
Yeah.
'95. It's like, well, why don't you write off, man? He came back for the roster he had. I would have come back for too. Yeah, Tim Dwight and
Yep.
Tavian Banks. They had good players. I would have come back. It didn't turn out well, but I think does Kirk? Does he have to get bounced out 2-10? No, I don't think that's going to happen. Will he go 10-2 or 12-0? I wouldn't count on it. So I think I don't think there's a crescendo coming here. I think this would be a very Kirk year to go out on. So let's say 9-3, 8-4, bowl win, feel good bowl win, and he gets on some shoulders, and that could be it. They're having a press conference, and when would they have the press conference? It'd have to be very soon.
Yeah.
Local guy would probably be before or just after the bowl game. National search would be probably a little bit deeper into January, February, I would guess.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see how it plays out. Who knows how
I'm just glad I don't have to write the story.
exactly. I'm with you.
Break
I'm
the
ready to
news.
go to
Oh,
sleep
God.
now.
That's so I think I was tweeting with Todd today, and I'm like, yeah, Todd, this is a lot more fun when I don't have Jimmy Conway from Goodfellas in my head saying, what are you going to write? What are you going to write after every game? What are you going to write? And believe it or not, that walk from the locker room to the press box was like, what am I going to write? Holy shit.
We always
So
came up
that's a lot more fun without that.
we always came up with something. Hopefully we did okay, and hopefully it was entertaining for folks, and hopefully this podcast was entertaining, but
Yes.
I think it's run its course, and
Yes.
we'll be back to talk and just kind of see this thing through. We'll see how these last three
Yeah.
games go. We'll see, if we can pick up any tells from the head coach as the season goes on, and it'll be fun to kind of watch this as it plays out. So come back to the Old Head Rapid Reaction, Instant Reaction podcast thingy next week, right? Yeah, they play USC. We don't know the time of that game yet. Could be 2:30, could be 11. We'll figure it out.
Another thing I got sick of doing was figuring out what the hell time this game was.
It's worse
That
now.
stuff. Oh my, no, I can't imagine what it is now. So I gave up on that, Rob. Actually, toward the end, I was like, oh, screw it. Somebody will tweet it, and I'll retweet that. I was like, yeah, screw it. Once in a while, I'd run into somebody. ESPN would first tweet it like midnight on Saturday, be like, okay, there we go, my story's done. It never really worked out. It didn't work out that way very often.
And information is moving even quicker now. So that stuff gets tweeted out and it's poof, it's out of the people's minds. Okay, fine, whatever. So,
Yep.
All right, folks. Well, thanks again for listening to us. We appreciate it. However many of you are out there, we do appreciate it. We
Absolutely
appreciate talking about this, and we'll be back to talk about it again next week. So have a good rest of your weekend. Have a good week, and we will talk to you next week. Peace out.